Hello. This video I make here is an example problem involving unit conversions. Since this is the first example problem video I'm doing here, just wanted to say a few things. As I'm working here, I might make some mistakes. It's the most common thing to do. I'll be on the lookout for mistakes and hopefully correct them as I go. If I make some mistakes that I don't catch and I post a video, please let me know if you think you find something so that I can go ahead and correct those. All right. Here's a problem. Let's go ahead and read what it says. There are 91.44 centimeters per 1 yard. That's a conversion factor. We're given two questions. Part A asks us, if an athlete runs 35 yards, how far is this in centimeters? So let's take a look at A here. First thing we want to do is we want to take this quantity, a distance, 35 yards. Let me go ahead and abbreviate yards as YD. And I want to convert that into centimeters. I've been given the conversion factor, right? So we know that we've got 91.44 centimeters is equal to 1 yard. And sometimes you'll see a conversion factor written like that. But when you want to use this conversion factor to actually convert from one set of units, say yards, to another set of units, centimeters, you actually want to make a ratio. You want to have a numerator and a denominator, and you want to put the conversion factor, one on the top, one on the bottom in that ratio. Since I want to get rid of yards, I need to cancel yards out. How do I do that? By division. So I'm going to put my yards in the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to put my centimeters in the top. And so now I can go ahead and do a calculation. Notice I've written down my numbers with the units always. You want to get in the habit of doing that. And when you can do the same mathematical operations with the units as you do with the numbers. So I've got yards in the numerator. This is all one extended numerator up here, right? I can divide the yards in the bottom. I'm done with yards. They've canceled. What do we have left? Just the centimeters. So those are the new units, and to see what the number is, we need to do the calculation. I've got in the top 35 multiplied by 91.44, and then in the bottom just divided by 1. So that comes out to 3,200.4 centimeters. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this in scientific notation here as a simpler way. Another way to do it, we can also write it like this. 3.2, I'm going to go around this just to 3 significant figures. And that's going to be times 10. How far do we move the decimal place? 1, 2, 3 to the left. That's 1,000, right? 3.2 times 10 to the third, and centimeters are our units. So there's the answer to part A. Let's look at part B. How many square yards are in 1 million centimeters squared? What's a square yard? Well, yard squared, just like centimeters squared, it is an area, right? So what I want to do here is I want to, again, write down the number we're trying to convert. Remember that this number here, if I want to use a shorter notation, this is 10 with 6 zeros, right? I can write this as 1 times 10 to the 6th centimeters squared, or simply 1 times anything is still the same thing, so this is really just 10 to the 6th centimeters squared. I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. So I've got 10 to the 6th centimeters squared, 1 million centimeters squared. I want to convert that into yards squared. I'm going to use the same conversion factor, even though it's square quantity here. We use the same linear conversion factor. I want to cancel out the centimeters in this case, so now I'm going to put them on the bottom. Put the yards on the top. But now we notice that if we cancel out centimeters, I've only canceled out one of those two, right? Because a centimeter squared, that's the same as having a product of 2 centimeters, right? So I actually need a second conversion factor. Now I can cancel both centimeters out, and the yards times the yards here are going to multiply to give us yards squared. And we can go ahead and put that into the calculator and get our answer. Let me rewrite it quickly here just to show you a simpler way to do this. 10 to the 6th centimeters squared. I can actually write this one time, the conversion factor, 1 yard per 91.44 centimeters. And instead of having two separate factors, I can just square this, right? It's the same thing. What does that mean? Well, I've got 10 to the 6th centimeters. And now I need to apply that square to all the terms in that quotient, right? So I got to square the 1, I got to square the yards, I got to square the 91.44, I got to square the centimeters. When I do that, this is just your algebra rules for exponents. So I'm going to get 1 yard squared, because of course 1 is squared is just 1. And then if we square the 91.44, let's see what we get. 1.44 squared, end up getting this number, 8.361 times 10 to the 3rd. And then we need to square the centimeters, so there we go, centimeters squared. I can cancel out, I forgot my square here, I can cancel out my centimeters. Notice I had the dimensions wrong when I wrote it. Now I see I'm right because I had to cancel out centimeters squared. There we go. Left with the yards squared, and the rest in the top we've got 10 to the 6th times 1 divided by this number 8.361 times 10 to the 3rd. Put it into the calculator and it comes out to this 1.20 times 10 to the 2nd yards squared, or if you want, about 120 yards squared. So either of these two we can keep as our answers. Now let's think about this a little bit. What's bigger, a yard or a centimeter? You always want to think about your answers and make sure they make sense. I got 1,000,000 centimeters squared, but centimeters are tiny, right? So if I convert that to yards, which are bigger, I'm going to have fewer of them. 120 yards squared is a lot smaller than 1,000,000 centimeters squared, so this seems to make sense, and pretty satisfied with the answer here. All right, you guys have a peer review problem to do that's going to be similar to this, so you can use this video as an example of how to do that one. And as well, once you're done with that, keep on going to your homework. You're going to have more similar problems to this.